Most billionaires start with a company and buy some more along the way. This entrepreneur built 2 unicorns from scratch. Hey everyone, and welcome to Booked, where we inspire others with inspiring stories. In today's video, we're going to go over the success story of Twitter and Square Inc. and talk about its co-founder, Jack Dorsey. So make sure to watch this video till the end, because we're also going to share with you the books that Jack Dorsey, the founder, read along his amazing journey. Books that changed his life and that may change yours. Chances are you have heard of Twitter but may not be familiar with Square Inc. Both companies are unicorns, and one man co-founded them, Jack Dorsey. In the tech world, Jack's name may not ring a bell like that of Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, Bill Gates, and other iconic tech founders, but his innovations sure do ring a bell. Jack Patrick Dorsey is an American entrepreneur and philanthropist, born on November 19, 1976 to a strong Catholic background. He was raised Catholic, his uncle is a Catholic priest, and he attended a Catholic high school. Okay, I know you're thinking now, he could have become a priest or mass server. Oh, this is not the case.
No!
Growing up, Jack suffered speech impediments that made him shy away from people, but he did not let that get a better part of him. Jack joined the debate team of his school to improve his speech and interact more with people. His quest to develop himself started from childhood days, and that has paved the way to who he is today. Jack had multiple interests as a teen. He liked computer programming and was fascinated by how dispatch companies used maps to coordinate activities. He worked briefly as a masseur at the early stages of his life and also as a fashion model before focusing on programming. His adventure into programming started as early as 13, and by 15 years old, he created software for the dispatch industry, which helped in the coordination of taxis and ambulance services. The software he developed is still being used by the taxicab companies today. Jack enrolled at the University of Missouri, later transferred to New York University, where he conceived the idea of Twitter. Just like other tech founders, he dropped out just one semester to graduation to pursue his dreams. For a lot of founders, Silicon Valley is usually the destination for their first startup activities, but for Jack, Oakland, California would be where his startup journey commenced. He moved to Oakland in 2000 and started a dispatch and emergency services company using the software he had developed. The dispatch company Jack created was not very successful as expected and struggled for a while, but he did not rely on the business to make a living. He started a freelance career as a programmer, helping people develop software for their businesses while also working on his idea of a short messaging platform. Jack later took the bold step and approached Odeo, now defunct Silicon Valley startup, which was interested in text messaging services at the time. He sold the idea to the founder and he liked it. Evan Williams also invited one of the company's executives to listen to the idea and he liked it too. The rest, they say, is history. Jack's work at Twitter. The art of timing cannot be overemphasized. Jack Dorsey met the Odeo bosses while they were thinking about new lines of products to launch. Embracing the idea of instant messaging was not very difficult for them because they had considered it an option before Jack met them. So after pitching the idea of short messaging to the Odeo bosses, the trio and other members at Odeo formed Obvious Corporation. Obvious Corporation was more like an incubator that would launch several other businesses. However, the Obvious Corporation later evolved into Twitter. Jack, the powerhouse of the idea and a programming expert, developed the Twitter software within 2 weeks. The Twitter website allowed users to post short messages called tweets of not more than 140 characters. Over the years, the limited word count of Twitter has made it stand out from other social networking sites. Twitter's model made it a go-to place for instant news sharing and communication. Today, Twitter boasts as a platform with the highest engagements from world leaders. 83% of the global political, business, and nonprofit leaders are active on Twitter. After they launched, Jack served as CEO but was replaced by Williams in 2008. For the time Jack was in leadership, Twitter was not profitable as it focused on product development and innovation. However, Jack, during his first CEO stint at Twitter, led the company to its first investment round of $5 million, which placed Twitter at $20 million as of June 2007. Within 5 years of existence, it raked in 50 million daily tweets, introduced the hashtag to trend important information, and became a go-to platform for instant messaging globally. But after Williams took over as CEO, this meant more time for Jack Dorsey. Jack immediately put his free time to use as he teamed up with Jack McKelvey to start Square Inc. Square Inc. is a payment company providing financial and merchant services. After a couple of CEOs handled Twitter, Jack Dorsey was invited back to serve as CEO in June 2015. He has held this office to date. Jack's work at Square Inc. Square Inc. started after Jim McKelvey tried to sell an art piece for $2,000, but could not because he could not process an American Express card. Jim shared his concerns with Jack Dorsey, and they set out to build the solution for the problem. Jack was already out of his role as CEO at Twitter, so he quickly jumped on the idea and co-founded Square Inc. with McKelvey. The original idea launched was a mobile payment service, but has since evolved and became one of the top most traditional merchant services, empowering small businesses with the platform to receive money from customers. In 2017, the company integrated Bitcoin into its technology, allowing merchants to accept and use Bitcoin as part of its operations. Square has grown rapidly, acquired multiple companies such as Storehouse, FastBite, and others. The major competitors of Square are Google Wallet and Venmo, a company owned by PayPal. Square has a major presence in the United States, Canada, Japan, and other parts of the world. It has over 3,000 employees and is currently worth over $4 billion. Jack has done amazing work growing Square to a unicorn, and he's only just getting started with Square. Jack's philanthropy. Jack Dorsey is known for his several philanthropic gestures. He makes tons of cash from his two multi-billion-dollar companies, but he's also giving away a huge chunk of his earnings. Let's take a look at some of Jack's philanthropy. In 2017, Jack partnered with Omid Kornistani and donated $530,000 to the American Civil Liberties Union to support their work. Moving on to bigger donations, Jack donated $1 billion of his wealth to fund global issues ranging from the global pandemic, support for girls' health and education, among other things he outlined. This amount was a staggering 28% of his total wealth in 2020 when he made this donation. He also partnered with Jay-Z to create a trust fund of 500 bitcoins worth over $23 million to the development of cryptocurrency in Africa. In 2016, Jack gave out a third of his shares on Twitter to Twitter employees. Despite the money donated already, Jack is not backing out and giving out his wealth. Jack often says he wants to give away all his wealth during his lifetime. Like we emphasize on this channel, reading good books can change your life. We have seen instances where it changed the life of the world's successful people. Jack Dorsey is not an exception. Jack is an avid reader, and in this section, we will list out a few books that he read. Make sure to check them out, and they could change your life. The Checklist Manifesto, written by Atul Gawande. Jack Dorsey said this book helped him set success metrics at Twitter. This book acknowledges the rapid growth of industries and the incrementals in professionals. It also goes on to point out the significant failures in these industries that can be averted. Atul Gawande argues that we will continue to fail despite the technologies and advancements if we fail to follow basic principles. He explains how checklists could help us optimize our processes, give us fresh insights as how we go about our daily work. Mindset, written by Carol S. Dweck. Mindset is vital in life. How far we go depends on our mindset. In this book, Carol, a Stanford University psychologist, reveals how powerful the mind is. She shows how our success, failures, performances, outcomes, and all the metrics we look out for depend on the mind. This shows that people with a fixed mindset will likely fail in their endeavors, while those with a growth mindset who believe they can change circumstances and learn new things will succeed. If you want to take charge of your mindset, develop your thought patterns and how you see things, then grab a copy of this book. Jack said this book influenced him positively. Becoming Steve Jobs, written by Brent Schlender. This book is a New York best-selling biography of how Steve Jobs rose to the top as the most visionary CEO in history. This book explores Steve Jobs, looking at the different things that made him successful, the good, bad, and ugly. Some parts of the book also look at the technology revolution and how we can rise to the top of a rapidly evolving industry. The story of Steve Jobs is similar to that of Jack Dorsey, who was relieved of his role as CEO but came back to lead the company to outstanding success. Jack thanks the resilience of Steve Jobs for the birth of Square Inc. When Jack was relieved of his duty, he did not give up. He co-founded Square Inc. with his friend, and today both companies are a success. If you admire Steve Jobs, this book could help get you started. The book can help you model your life as Steve Jobs. The Art of Happiness, written by George K. Strodek. In this book, the writer focuses on wellness and life in general. It explores all the attributes of life. It explores life, death, religion, science, morality, and happiness. This book is modeled after the teachings of Epicurus, a Greek philosopher and sage from thousands of years ago. Some of the notable names who modeled their work after Epicurus are Thomas Jefferson, Isaac Newton, Thomas Hobbes, and other iconic inventors. This book inspired Jack Dorsey, and if you're looking to be happy with your life and work and understand the true meaning of life, then grab a copy of this book. Jack Dorsey's story is proof that resilience is an important trait of successful people. Be resilient, be consistent.